Hello and welcome. This is Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we're going to open the last window from the Spellbinders Crafty Advent calendar. Today is day 24 and it is the last day for this calendar. So in this calendar or in the window for today, we have another die set. It's a cute like travel suitcase die. I absolutely love this. I think it'd be perfect all throughout the year, perfect for sending people or if someone you know traveling, would be cute to send that to them. So a bunch of different layers and different additions for this. There's an extra layer to go on top of the suitcase and some straps and buckles and then just some badges or whatever to go on to the suitcase. So I die cut everything off screen and I'm just going to quickly assemble it together. It's very easy to assemble. The suitcase I die cut out of Latte Cardstock, and then that almost ticket looking piece that goes on the front, I did it out of some fog cardstock. Now, I think you could even use that ticket piece just as tickets. If you had, say, a stamp that said admit one or something like that, I think it would be cute to use for that. Then we have our straps on here, and the straps have two different sections to them. One is the one that goes over the whole suitcase, and then the one is the top before you, or the buckle, the end piece before you put the buckle on. Now they have some really cute stitching detail around them as well. So a lot of these die cuts are really, really tiny. So once I get to the really small pieces, I'm going to grab my reverse tweezers. It really helps to hold the die cuts, to put the glue on and make sure that you're not getting glue all over your fingers. The larger pieces, I don't mind holding them, but when it gets time to do the really, really tiny ones, tweezers are invaluable. I'm also using liquid glue like I use for most of my die cutting. It's really easy to use and I love having a fine tip to it. The glue starts to grab really, really quickly, so you don't really need a whole lot and it gives you a little bit of wiggle time. For the buckles and the handle on the suitcase, I used my Gold Treasured cardstock pack and I die cut it out of the pearl gold cardstock for a little bit of metallic accents. You could even use some of the mirror gold if you wanted to have it shinier. I'm also using accents die cut out of Poppy Field and Cosmic Sky for some red and blue, a little bit of a punch of color. And this is where we start to get into the really tiny die cuts, and I end up grabbing those tweezers and using them for most of these tiny pieces because it's so much easier to have the tweezers to hold the die cuts. These are reverse tweezers, so they open up when you squeeze them. So it's really easy to move the die cut or the piece or the tweezer from one hand to the other without needing to make sure that you've squeezed them to know that that die cut is being held. So many of the pieces for this set are really tiny. So like once again, this is a great way to use up some cardstock scraps, especially for those little badges or stickers or whatever that are supposed to go on the suitcase. It'd be fun to use up all sorts of different colors and put them all over that suitcase. I put my straps on ahead of time and then put the stickers around it, but you could easily put them on first and then put the buckles on top of it if you wanted to. I think it would also be fun to add a little bit of ink blending to that suitcase to give it a little bit more of a worn or distressed look. That would also add to it as well. So you can obviously use the suitcase for many things. I'm going to create a card with it as I've done with all of the things from this month, but I think it would also be fun as accents for a scrapbook page too. So for a sentiment for this set, I'm going to use the Typewriter Adventure sentiments. This has a bunch of different ones that I think were really suitable for that suitcase. The sentiments that came in the calendar, there's some really good ones, but I wanted something that was travel themed. So this particular one says adventure awaits, but there are several others in that set that would work really well with this as well. I'm using my Misti stamping tool so that I can stamp it several times to make sure that I have a nice crisp and clear sentiment. And I use some candy apple distress ink for it to coordinate with those die cuts. Once that is stamped and ready to go, I can assemble my card. And I did put that suitcase on that white piece before stamping it just to make sure that I had my spacing correct, make sure that I didn't have it too low and had some good space around it. So I can glue all of those together. I like to use a white acrylic block just to hold everything in place, just to make sure that everything lays flat and it frees up my hand to work on other things. So this particular card has a lot of white space to it because that suitcase isn't very large. It's probably about 2 inches by about 1.5 inches. You could easily add a couple suitcases. You could make your card a little bit smaller if you wanted, or you can do your matting so that there's a little bit less white space on the front there. Now that we've opened all of the windows for the calendar, I figured I'd share with you how I like to store these die sets. So I take the cover part from the window, the part that has the picture on the inside. I take it off and I trim it down a little bit, and then I use Ziploc bags, and I only store the dies that come in this, or that come in the advent calendars this way. The stamps, you can tell exactly what's on each one of these stamps. They've got it written right on there. It's very easy to tell. And the stencils and embossing folders, you can see exactly what it is. But when it comes to the dies, sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's in there, what that die set makes. So I find that this is very, very helpful. Because I have that image piece right in there, I can tell exactly what that die set is supposed to make. Another option would be to use those dies to create what it's supposed to make and then put that in the Ziploc bag with it. This just works for me. Thank you so much for joining me for this series. I really enjoyed making things from each one of these days and sharing them with you. I hope you enjoyed following along. I really appreciate all the time that you spend with me. I hope you have a fantastic day.